One of the reasons why Sonic is such a timeless series is that he hasn't just been contained to video games. Between comics, shows, and movies, there is always something with the blue blur being made. And with a company as messy as Sega and a franchise as unstable as Sonic, there are a lot of ideas that did not get off the ground. And that's what this video is about. Here is every lost and cancelled Sonic movie and TV show. Some of these got decently far into production, others nothing more than words on the page. Brace to yourself because this is going to be weird. Before we begin, it'd be helpful if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell as well for notifications on future videos. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Well, if you want to be technical, this is not a show or a movie, but it cannot be ignored because of how insane this was. The Sonic Bible was the earliest backstory for the character made by Sega of America that I am happy has been preserved. According to the first draft of the Bible, Sonic was originally a normal brown hedgehog named Sonny who had the unfortunate fate of living in Nebraska. During wintertime, Sonny dug up a hole and manages to find the laboratory of a friendly scientist named Dr. Ovi Kintobor. Ovi, or Dr. K for short, has been searching for the Gray Chaos Emerald to help save the planet from pollution and corruption, and he enlists the help of Sonny on his journey. While training on one of Dr. K's machines, Sonny pushes himself so much that his quills become blue and he names himself Sonic the Hedgehog. After transforming, he pushes Dr. K on why he's searching for the emeralds. In this version, they are made of evil. During this little show and tell, somehow radiation breached into the Earth's atmosphere and headed straight for the lab. I think of this as divine punishment for living in Nebraska. The radiation hits Dr. K and the emeralds before he can get them back into their lead box. An explosion occurs and Dr. K got his DNA fused with an egg, suffering twink death and becoming the evil Dr. Robotnik. Sonic escapes the lab and goes to gather rings and save the animals in Robotnik's laboratory, who are about to go through what happens to that one bitch in Superman 3. Thus ends the Sonic Bible, setting the stage for the first game in the series. It's fun looking at the early days of the Sonic series because it is clear they had no idea what they were doing with the franchise back then. And you can make an argument they didn't know what they were doing well into the 2000s. And that was the first draft of the Bible. Unsurprisingly, it did not catch on. The second draft was a bit closer to the final product, with Sonic just being Sonic from the word go, and the adventures taking place on Mobius instead of Cornhill Zone, Nebraska. Again, it did not catch on. The main things to take influence from the Bible were the Sonic promo comic, Sonic the Comic, and yes, those are two different things, and Stay Sonic. Since the Brits wrote that one, they should have given everybody terrible British accents. Oi Robotnik, you bloody wanker! Got your knickers in a twist? Bugger off, you bloody hedgehog! I'll bash your fucking head in! Swear me none! And hell, Nebraska is close enough to Montana. You can pretend like the Bible influenced the Sonic movies. Look, if you're going to do a drinking game for this video, be careful. Like, if you took a drink for every absurd thing that wouldn't fit in the series back then, let alone now, you would be making out with the toilet well before the video is actually over. That said, do not let me stop you from having a good time. It was clear from the word go that Sega was going to franchise Sonic out. As early as 1991, there were talks of getting a Sonic cartoon off the ground. Sonic's first TV series, which would eventually morph into the second animation, the beloved Sonic SATAM, its origins are totally different from the final product. One of the earliest pieces of concept art shows the Freedom Force being the Freedom Team with a totally different roster. Each of the characters here were loosely based on the animal buddies you saved in the first title. And I like this piece of art here. Sonic kissing a fish instead of Sally, classic gag. To give an idea how early this was made, this was before Tails was introduced to the series. That said, two of the characters here did survive by appearing in the Fleetway comic. I'm mostly highlighting this for preservation's sake, as not many fans know how different Sonic SATAM could have been. The Freedom Team stage of Sonic SATAM didn't get far enough into production to have anything animated. Eventually, the creative team pivoted into the final product we all know and love. It's just fun to imagine what could have been. You already have two shows on TV, might as well go for the third strike. Super Sonic Sisters was pitched as a spinoff for Sonic that would have involved its cousins, Monica and Isabelle. Now, stay with me here. Monica and Isabelle live on an asteroid outside of Mobius. They are twins, but have contrasting personalities. They are the popular girls in school, and have a rival in Robotnik's nephew, Robotnik. The two of them go on wacky adventures together, with Sonic popping in here and there. This concept was pitched twice, with the first one getting shot down. The second pitch tried to slim down the roster of characters to no avail. Deke passed on the pitch, probably because they already had their hands full of two Sonic cartoons, and another that barely has anything to do with Sonic probably wasn't the smartest move. And I can only imagine at the time they were going to be done with Sonic after Sonic SATAM. This show was unknown until 2023, when Phil Harnage released this info publicly for preservation's sake. This did not get further than text on a page, so other than the pitch, the character list, and some episode name ideas, nothing exists for the show. I can kind of understand the vision. Having a female-focused spinoff wasn't exactly unheard of back then, but again, the show has almost nothing to do with the games. We already got Sally and Rouge, we don't need the series to have even more furry awakenings. By 1994, Sonic had solidified himself as one of the hottest games around. He had 3 big games, some spin-offs, several comics, and 2 animated series. Where else to go but the silver screen? As far back as 1993, Sega was accepting pitches for a Sonic movie. One of the first pitches was a treatment from Trilogy Entertainment, written by Penn Dinsham and Richard B. Lewis. Don't think that picture is any indication of what this film would have been like. I've always referred to this version of the Sonic movie as Sonic the Human movie, and for years this pitch was lost but discovered by members of the Twitch channel The Game Show Game, found in early 2024. I went over this pitch in a video I made a while back, but I never read through it until now, and oh boy, this is some grade A insanity. Grab a drink for this one. Sonic the Human movie revolved around a white boy named Jimmy Hedgeman, a rebellious 17-year-old kid who is trying to find his place in the world, get laid, and learn how to drive while drunk. Leo, he is not.
I can't drive 55! My neighbors must love me. And yes, sometimes I do play my game standing up.
Jimmy gets caught by the cops and he has to get bailed out by his old man, Dr. Hedgeman. They get into an argument in the doc's lab, leading Jimmy to run out right as some goons bust into the lab. When he sees the goons, Jimmy runs and hides in a closet, but he gets knocked over in the scuffle. While trapped in the closet, a mysterious blue liquid gets poured over Jimmy, and I am assuming it's not my blue Hawaiian gin mix.
Pac-Man thirsty, Pac-Man want gin, brah.
The goons capture Dr. Hedgeman, and after getting out of the closet, Jimmy then goes to the police for help, which is a terrible idea. Jimbo gets a lead that they took his old man to Brazil to meet the evil and potentially British Dr. Paul Ellison. No relation to the Ellisons, who are evil in a different way. Jimmy heads to the south while fighting off his transformation. His primal urges keep coming back, and at one point he eats worms.
That's right, a kids movie where you see the main hero eating worms, because that's what you want to take your kids to go see. I mean, I guess a hedgehog eating worms is more accurate than him eating chili dogs, but if they want to be biologically accurate, you know that thing on Sonic's chest? That's his wiener.
And it does not get much better from there. Jimmy still hasn't fully committed to the whole mutant hedgehog thing. He gets captured by a group of mutants that were affected by Ellison. One of them is called Knuckles for having long arms, dreadlocks, a rough mane, and quote, hard as nails. That's not me making it funny, that's literally in the treatment. It's like the writers looked at Blanca from Street Fighter 2 and said, yeah, that's what most Brazilians look like.
Look at him and tell me there's a god!
Jimmy has to fight Knuckles to prove his worth to the tribe, in which he fully submits to his curse and becomes the blue blur, Sonic the Hedgehog. More like Sonic the in-between frames of an Animorph transformation. Sonic and a woman named Amanda, who may or may not be Amy and might be looking to bone a half-boy, half-hedgehog hybrid, team up to save Dr. Hedgeman and Knuckles, who got captured by Ellison. Oh yeah, there's a village elder who gets killed so anticlimactically you would think it was a joke. Eventually, Sonic, Amanda, and Knuckles and a bunch of mutants raid Ellison's compound. Sonic calls Ellison Robotnik, they have their final showdown, Ellison bites it when his compound explodes, ending Ellison and freeing the world from his evil. If only our reality could be so lucky. Now Dr. Hedgeman is stuck raising a half-human, half-hedgehog hybrid. Thus ends Sonic the movie.
So, gang, what did you think about the Sonic movie from Trilogy Entertainment? It would have been insane to say the least. It's like the writers looked at the Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1983 and said, you know what? That's a challenge. We can make our game-based adaptation even less faithful to the source material than that. And I think they won that competition. But this movie never got made, so, eh.
Yeah, this was a total fever dream. It sounded like Trilogy Entertainment had an idea for a mutant movie and forced Sonic onto it. If you changed the names around, you would have had an original story that did not need Sonic's name dragged through it. For obvious reasons, this movie got shot down by Sega. Someone should dust off this idea then pitch it to Netflix, who will give it a $300 million budget, have Gal Gadot not act through it again, and then it will get taken off the platform in 3 years. A sore spot for 90s Sonic fans is the cancellation of Sonic SATAM. What stings the most about it is that it ended on a cliffhanger. Prior to cancellation, Season 3 was already in the works, and here's what we know about it. Snively would have been promoted to the main bad guy, at least for the time being, while Tails would have gotten more character development. Knuckles would have also appeared, more than likely near the end of the season. I guess he would have been a bad guy at first, then turned into a hero in Season 4, kind of like his role in the video games at the time. We would have gotten the story of how Robotnik and Snively met. As it turns out, there was a nuclear war on Earth, and the two of them were the only survivors. Do you think Snively and Robotnik touched wieners? This revelation would have confirmed the theory that Mobius was Earth the whole time.
Attention, Toonheads. Do you know who you are? Now here's your chance to truly know your tunes. With the only 30-minute TV show guaranteed to satisfy your appetite for twisted tunes.
As an aside, does anybody remember Toonheads? That show does not get enough love. I remember watching the short Peace on Earth through it. It's a tragic short that I watch every Christmas, and it still holds up. And very much relevant in the 2026 political climate. I wonder if Sonic SATAM and Adventure Time were influenced by that short.
I just wanted to talk about Toonheads. Please tell me there are other people who remember watching the show back in the day. And if there is some kind of god of streaming, please put Toonheads on HBO. And Megas XLR, that was also a great show.
Despite high ratings, ABC kept preempting the show for news or sports events. It was airing on ABC, which got bought out by Disney, and they did not want to air things that they did not own. Time is a flat circle. Years later, it was revealed that DiC and Sega got into legal issues as DiC was selling animation cells without Sega's knowledge. Talk about overkill for this cartoon. There were attempts to revive the show in different ways, including a movie that we will talk about soon. However, none of them got off the ground. Plus, it's clear that Sega wants to distance themselves from this kind of Sonic. Hell, I think legally, they cannot do anything with this series even if they wanted to. But they made it clear they do not want to. The closest thing to Sonic SATAM getting a conclusion is with a fan-made comic, which I think is dead now. Ben Harris tragically passed away in 2010, so we will never know how he would have ended Sonic SATAM. Probably not with Sally's legacy being that sex doll. The other attempts to make a Sonic film, Sonic Wonders of the World, was pitched to Sega and MGM around 1995. This one is more in line with the series, unlike the Trilogy version. Wonders of the World, written by Richard Jeffries, involves another presumably white boy, Josh Pinsky. Instead of an underage alcoholic, he's an awkward kid who's not doing too well in life. He's bad at school, he probably doesn't have any friends, and his parents, Hal and Lisa, are recently divorced. And that's the story behind people who decided to name Bowser Jr. in Smash Bros. Ultimate. The only thing Josh has going on in his life is that he has his trusty Sega Saturn with Sonic Extreme. At least one of his parents has a good taste in gaming. Josh could not finish his term paper about a test pilot named Sonic. Since Josh is lazy and dumb, he decided to use his dad's computer, the XRI, to write his paper for him. The AI does not know what Sonic the test pilot is, so Josh hooks up his Sega Saturn to the supercomputer, and just like that, Sonic comes from the game world into the real world.
Look, I hate AI with a burning passion, but being able to go into game worlds, that'd be pretty cool. That said, if this technology did exist, everybody would just go into the game worlds just to bang their waifus. Don't lie, that was the first thing that crossed your mind.
So this movie would have been an early attempt at a CGI buddy film that was popular in the 2010s, and I watched most of those growing up. And I can only imagine how amazing Sonic would have been in mid-90s CGI. When Sonic escapes from the game world, he starts causing a ruckus in our world. While that's happening, Robotnik also escapes from the game world too. Robotnik quickly makes himself at home at an abandoned amusement park, where he transforms some bullies into bully bots. While this is happening, Sonic's power is fading in the real world, and he needs to get his mojo back with a Chaos Emerald. So it's a race between Sonic and Josh, and Robotnik and his bully bots in fighting an emerald. Sonic and Josh do find one hiding in an ordinary rock.
Good old rock. Nothing beats that.
Hal gets a job with Robotnik. Apparently him being a 90s CGI dude was not a red flag. And we would have found out Robotnik's evil plan is to make a theme park and steal the wonders of the world.
He said it! He said it!
So basically Sonic Colors mixed with the cinematic opus Masters of Disguise. You know what, screw you, I liked that movie as a kid. This movie would have resolved with Sonic and Josh chasing Robotnik back into Sonic Extreme, the two of them being victorious over the Doctor. But sadly, Sonic and Josh need to separate. Hal realizes that the XRI is too dangerous. Josh decides not to use it. He does play Sonic Extreme one more time, with Sonic we can get Josh through the game. And yeah, this movie sounds pretty wacky. That said, it for a mid-90s kids movie, it sounded like it had potential. It's more game accurate than Mario Bros, that's for sure.
monkey!
In fact, Sega and Sonic Team actually liked the treatment. They did have a few notes, but that aside, they gave us a seal of approval. However, when it was pitched to MGM, they passed on the project. I could not find a reason why, but I imagine Sonic's falling relevancy in the mid-90s had something to do with it. And this was also going to be a tie-in to Sonic Extreme, which was going through some development difficulties until it got unceremoniously canned. Jeffries went to DreamWorks to get it made, but they too passed on it. He should have gone straight to Eisner after DreamWorks. Eisner would have greenlit the project out of spite. I love the Sonic OVA. Objectively, it is not amazing, but damn, the aesthetic, music, and cheesy English dub give it a charm that other Sonic adaptations lack. It is said that the OVA was actually 2 episodes of a potential Sonic anime to get off the ground. However, it undersold in Japan, and whatever plans there were for a late 90s Sonic anime ended right then and there. From what I've read, nothing else was made for the OVA besides the 2 episodes and the soundtrack, which was lost for years. Even though the OVA has its fans, Sega has made it very clear that they do not want to reference the OVA ever again, other than the odd gag here or there. Despite that, it would weirdly predict things that would happen in the series, like the main trio teaming up together to take on a big robot bad guy, there's a parental owl, and Sonic having a human love interest. Also, I have not seen the OVA in years, and I forgot how unusually horny this was. I cannot imagine any form of Sonic involving jokes with panty shots, Tails copping a feel, and the whole thing is revealed to be an elaborate Adam and Eve plot, where Robotnik's big plan to repopulate Earth involves him humping an 18-year-old girl.
Looking at my script again, I can't believe I wrote that line, but at the same time though, it's not inaccurate to what actually happens in the OVA. On second thought, I think Sega was justified in abandoning the OVA from now on. At least he found the soundtrack after all these years.
An animation that has confused fans for years is Sonic the Animation, sometimes known as Man of the Year. It was included in the compilation Sonic Jam. I have a copy and it is awesome. And no, you cannot have mine, but hit up my Buy Me a Coffee account so I could get a new Sega Saturn. This short was a collaboration between TMS and Sega AM3. It was first shown at Tokyo Toy Show back in 1994 and probably at Joy Palace back in the day. It was a technically demanding short with cell and CG animation blended together. You can tell this was made very early in Sonic's life because they were just throwing things at the wall and just see what sticks. It seemed to be taking place in a city like New York City, and the humor is something straight out of Looney Tunes. Weirdly enough, despite that, it seems predicts things that would happen to Sonic in the future, like him interacting with humans in a city, much like Sonic Adventure in Station Square, and Sonic getting framed for something, much like Sonic Adventure 2. Man of the Year ends on a cliffhanger, so where's Part 2? It never existed. More than likely, it got canned because of internal issues at both Sega and TMS at the time. Sonic Retro thinks this never got a Part 2 because it was meant to be an experiment. I don't know, it would be weird to put this much time, effort, and money into an animation that ends on a cliffhanger if the plan the whole time was to never resolve it. But Sega has done dumber things before. Sonic the Animation, it's a cool idea, and I would have liked to have seen something come from this, but I'm not going to hold my breath on this ever getting a Part 2. I would be surprised if Sega even remembered making this short.
And if you AI generate a Man of the Year Part 2, I am denying you your water rights when the water wars start to happen. Same with the person at Sega who allowed this AI generated crap to happen.
Hey, we're back to Sonic Sat AM. After the show was unceremoniously canned by ABC, writer Ben Hurst tried to get the finale told in movie form. Before anything could get made of Hurst's vision, everybody's favorite weirdo, Ken Penders, caught wind of the Hurst movie and went to Sega about it. He snitched, saying to Sega that Hurst was trying to co-opt the Sonic series. So that Hurst movie died before it was even born. Penders then went to Sega in 2002 to pitch his own film, Sonic Armageddon. He made 4 pieces of concept art that range from the planet exploding, Sonic needing to clean his room, this nightmare of an animal being turned into a robot, this is what it feels like when your boss makes you use AI for your job, and a cast shot. I wonder how Mighty and the Chaotix would have played into this movie. I can only assume that it was about Mobius exploding and then going from there. Along with the art, Penders made this pitch for the film.
They said it was just a video game, but I knew better. After all, my dad's job was to search for life on other planets. Although many versions of the events he witnessed made their way out into the media, that was just security doing its job. Like who could keep a secret that big, right? Anyway, this is what my dad said really happened.
For a multitude of reasons, Sega passed up on Armageddon. By 2002, Sega just left the hardware industry and had Sonic X in the pipeline. So having a dark, Penders-led movie at a time when Sega was figuring out where to go as a company did not seem like a good move. And honestly, Armageddon probably would have sucked. While pitched in 2002, Armageddon didn't officially die until 2007. Don't get excited that there's some test footage for this thing made. There was absolutely zero pre-production material made for this flick. Imagine getting ghosted for 5 years just to get rejected when they text back. After the Penders and Archie lawsuit, I am sure that Sega is happy to wash their hands of old mate Pendies. Now he's writing his own weird comics that I am not going to read.
I feel like I could do a deep dive on Ken Pender's career because this man has had a lot of work to his name and a lot of it is just insane in the membrane. But at the same time though, I'm kind of afraid to go down that dark road that is Ken Pender's mind. But I did find out some fun trivia. He actually worked on a few episodes of King of the Hill. In the words of the great Hank Hill, "That boy ain't right, I'll tell you what."
Sometime in that mythical year of 2007, a year that I hold a lot of nostalgia for, a Sonic series was commissioned by Sega from phuuz Entertainment. I thought it was pronounced as fuzz, but it's actually phuuz. Writer Grant Moran was on this project and he was contacted via LinkedIn, aka the 7th Circle of Hell, about it. Moran didn't have much to say on the project as it was only in development for a few months in 2007. In 2024, Twitter user Alex Hedgefox managed to get in touch with artist Gary Montalbano and managed to get 2 pieces of concept art shared. It's hard to say what the show would have looked like because it was only worked on for so long. I read somewhere that it was going to be CG, but I could not verify that. To be frank, at that time in 2007, Sonic's reputation was not doing so good. So a Sonic show at that time probably would not have lit anyone's pubes on fire. Now I do have a theory. Former Silver voice actor Pete Capella had something on his resume called Sonic the Hedgehog Awakening. To this day, nothing is known about it. It's speculated that it was supposed to be DLC for Sonic 06 that was scrapped because Sonic 06 was shit. However, what if Awakening was an early name for this show, and Capella was signed on? I am not sure how that timeline would have worked out, and I doubt the phuuz show got far enough along to have a script written, though it would have been cool to see Silver and Blaze finally debut on TV. I am certain that's not the case and Awakening is just DLC that got canned early on, but it is a fun thought.
I ran a poll on my community tab page about what is your favorite Sonic adaptation, and Sonic X took this one. I remember seeing ads for Sonic X back in the day, and I was so hypey for it. I woke up every Saturday morning to watch it on Foxbox, and I utterly loved it at the time. I don't think Sonic X has aged that well in terms of some of the animations, some of the cheesy English voice acting, and Chris Thorndike definitely being a thorn in this series' side. At the same time, looking back at it compared to some of the other Sonic TV shows, I think Sonic X might be the best one. I thought Sonic Prime was going to be the best Sonic show, and it started out really strong, but then Season 3 happened and it kind of went downhill from there. But you know what? There's always going to be a new Sonic animation in the works, so hopefully they'll make a better one than Sonic Prime, and maybe have a higher animation budget than Sonic X.
And now we have the long road to the Sonic movie. According to Iizuka, Sonic movie pitches were far from uncommon, all of them getting shot down for a variety of reasons. Eventually something did break and Sony Pictures got the rights to make a Sonic movie. You can break the Sonic movie into 2 phases, the Sony era and then the Paramount era. The original plan for it was to be a live action / animated film made between Columbia Pictures and Mars Animation, the latter of whom already has experience with the Sonic franchise. Neil H. Moritz was to produce the film. Several writers were attached to the Sony version, with none of them getting too far off the ground. Coupling that was constant tensions between executives at Sony, Sega, and the writers, basically preventing anything from getting done. The Sony hack did not help things, as the aftermath of that event led to Tom Rothman replacing Amy Pascal as the big cheese at Sony, and Rothman and Moritz did not get along. Absolutely nothing was done on the movie between the years of 2013 and 2016. Rothman did not see the movie as a high priority, instead choosing to focus on rebooting other Sony franchises and milking Spider-Man dry.
Yeah, that worked out really well for them.
It was not until 2016 when Moritz was able to get something started and hired Tim Miller as an executive producer, got Patrick Casey, Josh Miller, and Oren Eisel on the screenplay. One idea that Casey and Miller had was that Sonic was going to be an intergalactic criminal stealing emeralds, eventually finding his way to Earth and faking being a hero until he actually becomes a hero. I can only imagine the other wacky ideas being tossed around for the Sonic movie. Once it looked like it was finally getting realized, things went sideways. After several financial failures and Rothman's antics, Sony put the Sonic film into turnaround. Moritz went to Paramount, who then bought the rights to the film and promptly got to work on the movie. Even with the movie at Paramount, there were still a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Some of the earliest concepts for the movie had a different looking Sonic where he wasn't exactly like the games, but still appealing. It seems that lizard people were going to be the antagonists, but they got replaced by the echidnas in the final product. Mostly because reptilian bad guys have absolutely nothing to do with Sonic.
I repeat, nothing to do with Sonic.
The actor for Tom Wachowski had not been decided yet. There were a bunch of names floating around, and concept art of Chris Evans and Paul Rudd are out there in the role. Rudd almost got it, but he had to decline due to commitments in Avengers Endgame. They ended up deciding on James Marsden, whose career was leading up to this moment. Keep in mind, this whole time while making the movie, there were lots of disagreements between Paramount and Sega. Sega was not fond of how Sonic was shaping up, particularly his eyes and muscular design. There were leaks of an early Sonic design, one being shown at a Brazilian Comic-Con with a different look. I did find a bit of that trailer via a fart fetish account on Twitter, but because why wouldn't a fart person have Sonic Lost media lying around? Paramount thought that audiences would accept a more quote-unquote realistic Sonic like they did with Transformers, Monster Trucks, and Ninja Turtles.
Again, that worked out well for Paramount.
The first trailer dropped on a sunny May day in 2019, and well...
Meow?
He was so ugly that everyone died.
Reception was not good. The entire internet dropped everything to mock the trailer for how repulsive Sonic looked. It looked like a creature that draws flattening and good old art for Pixiv, and pops a boner during the death scenes of Demonphobia. And it goes without saying, Gangsta's Paradise has been ruined for me. Sega distanced themselves from the movie after that trailer. 2019 Sonic was still kind of in a funk, and having a movie with this weird design would have done huge damage to the brand. Paramount had to take the L, and they delayed the movie from November 2019 to February 2020 to fix Sonic's design. There are people to this day who still think the original design was an elaborate plan from Paramount to make a design so ugly they'd be forced to redesign and get a bunch of free publicity from listening to fans. No, that idea is dumb and you should feel dumb for believing it. That's even dumber than thinking the Snyderverse will return. Paramount had that original design in the style guide and some early merch. They were committed to ugly Sonic. Ultimately, it took crunch hours and a crisp $5 million to fix the design, and sadly, Motion Picture Company's Vancouver branch shut down in the process. However, it was worth it for a much more appealing design. After years of development hell, Sonic the Hedgehog released in theaters on February 14th, 2020, and it was a critical and financial success. Lucky for Paramount, as they had hella strikes in 2019. No one thought that a Sonic movie would be any kind of decent, but with a talented team and a lot of money, they made a solid film, and it was one of the last big hits in theaters that year before they shut down. I can't imagine getting 4 movies plus a TV series if Paramount kept that early look. Even Sega would admit that the huge success of the films incentivized them to lock in for future games. And I think Sonic has been doing pretty good in the 2020s.
Sonic games are so cool, especially when you don't have Twitter or YouTubers yapping in your ear about how much the series sucks. Sonic games, they're pretty freaking sweet.
At the time of making this video, Sonic 4 is in development, and I can imagine Jeff Fowler and his team want to keep this gravy train going as long as possible, unless the Ellisons go bankrupt, which would be really funny.
You guys like my Sonic plushies? Yes, I'm a 33-year-old man who collects plushies, but these are pretty sick. This one I ordered online. This one I won from a game center back in Albuquerque with my brother. Good memories there. As you can tell, I'm kind of a Shadow fan. And with that, the video is over, and I hope you enjoyed it. At the time of making this video, Sonic 4 is in development, and I'm sure we're going to see more Sonic movies, TV show, comics, and games for years to come. It's great to know that future generations are always going to grow up with some form of Sonic. So the thing I grew up on, my kids can eventually enjoy too, and their kids can eventually enjoy it too, assuming the world will have water at that point. But leave me some comments. Was there anything in here that you're disappointed didn't get made? What's your favorite Sonic adaptation? Let me know down there in the comments. And while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell as well for notifications on future videos. I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account, so if you feel like supporting the channel financially, that helps out a lot. Or just share the videos, that's free. I've also been really good about uploading shorts, so if you've been watching those, thank you so much, that really helps the channel out. And finally, if you want to follow my life here in Japan, follow me on all socials like Instagram, Twitter at Zmings. And with that, the video is over. I'll see you in the next video. Let everybody take care, stay cool.